All right. Hey, good evening, folks. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Tonight is Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. This is your evening tropical update. Bit of a long day today, so we're going to kind of roll a late one tonight. I apologize for the delay, but we are going to get to it, and we're going to try to make this one a little bit quicker than the other videos. You know, I always say that, and then I'm usually lying, but we're going to do our best to truck through this as fast and efficiently as possible. Looking at the Atlantic Basin here this evening, we do have really three areas to watch, but two are kind of in the same place, just in different points of time. Your attention has likely been drawn to the southeast Gulf of Mexico or southwest Gulf of Mexico, where a very ominous looking storm is sitting there. And if you didn't know any better, you may go, wow, that looks like a hurricane. But since you follow Redbeard's weather page, you know this is just potential tropical cyclone 1, and it's not really too much to worry about. We are going to start there. We're going to bounce over to the southeast Atlantic or southwest Atlantic. I know east and west, I promise. And we are going to talk about this little guy as well, moving towards Florida, get the latest on that. And then we are going to go back to the Gulf of Mexico for some more potential development going into next weekend, or this weekend and early next week. So, potential tropical cyclone 1, if you didn't follow us on the page, this was named around 5 p.m. yesterday from the National Hurricane Center. Potential tropical cyclone 1 is just word salad from the National Hurricane Center to describe something that isn't an organized tropical storm yet, but it's close enough to need tropical storm watches and warnings, since we need 24, 36, 48 sort of hours to get these warnings out and watches out. If the Hurricane Center finds themselves in the idea of, well, it may not be a tropical storm until it gets near land, but it's going to produce tropical storm conditions, then they name it a potential tropical cyclone so they can set their watches and warnings. So as you can see on the map, tropical storm warnings up tonight for parts of the northern Mexican coastline. These extend into Texas and have actually gone further than yesterday. They were around Port O'Connor, Texas, and now they've extended all the way to near Galveston. San Luis Pass, just south of Galveston, is how far the tropical storm warnings go tonight. And that should draw your attention to the giant tangerine sitting upside down on our storm, which is actually the storm's wind field. H-Worth showing us a good depiction of the wind field of this system, showing that big high over the southeast U.S., low right here, and the winds are going to be screaming between the two. So the winds are only kind of associated with the low. It's almost like a nor'easter, but it's tropical, if that makes any sense. It's the same principle that makes strong nor'easter winds, like in the winter, but it's just the tropical version, right? Pressure gradient, tight pressure gradient means strong winds barreling into Mexico and Texas, and that is the big calling card of this system. So although it's not particularly strong, it's very broad. That can bring a large fetch, that can bring strong waves, that can bring some coastal flooding. Not really going to call it storm surge, because this will be more of a sustained coastal flooding event, but a couple foot of water rise at the coast. Those winds at 40 miles an hour or over at times, especially in gusts, are going to be possible up and down the Texas coastline, and especially in northern Mexico. The other big thing is going to be that rainfall. Weather Prediction Center's 7-day rainfall still showing 10 plus inches for some of South Texas, and a large swath of Texas seeing 3 to 5 inches of rain. And this is pretty beneficial for a lot of folks. If you look at the path of this rainfall, that kind of monsoon moisture that curves back into New Mexico and up into parts of Oklahoma and some of Nebraska, this is actually really beneficial rain. If you look at the U.S. Drought Monitor, remember that kind of swath of rain? Well, that's all going to be highlighted over this area. And some folks here in southern New Mexico and some of Texas are in extreme was it significant stage 3 or whatever the stage 3 drought is in red? Extreme drought, yeah, exceptional stage 4. So widespread drought conditions in this area, and this surge of tropical moisture will help with that. And South Texas needs it as well. Not quite as bad as some other parts, but a lot of rain too fast will lead to flooding. But hopefully this will be mostly beneficial rain, and similar to Florida, where once we see the drought monitor on Thursday, that will be mostly erased across central and south Florida, or at least heavily tampered down. So the same, not maybe to the ridiculous degree that Florida got it, but some beneficial rain coming from Texas. But again, localized flooding possible with PTC One. Latest in the Hurricane Center, it's going to pretty much bury itself into Mexico sometime late Wednesday night or maybe early Thursday morning before dawn, and then slowly move in and become a depression and dissipate over the rugged mountains of northern Mexico. But again, though, that swath of heavy rain and wind will be coming for the entire Texas coast and will continue for the next couple of days. So let's go ahead and talk about our other system out in the Atlantic Basin this evening. I've been back to tropical tidbits, looking at the visible satellite as the sun sets. And this is our little blob out here we're watching. Our frontal boundary has now completely left. The jet stream is gone. This is cut off. And now it's beginning to slip back to the west under the influence of the sprawling high pressure across the southeast and the Atlantic. So this is going to move back towards Florida now over the next few days, now that it's missed its ride, and is going to get carried back the other way. The satellite loop here basically just shows a festering bunch of nothing. There's really no circulation yet. There's kind of a weak wave axis, but it's not even really that much of a wave axis. Just kind of this little blob of disturbed weather. Now, this will begin to slowly consolidate as it does move west, but there's like some evidence rather of outflow boundaries and dry air in the area, which is no shock. This part of the Atlantic is not typically open for business in early to mid-June. So this system, climatologically speaking, is going to struggle over the next few days as it moves west. Our computer models are not doing a great job with this. The GFS, its ensemble members have dropped this completely and have for several cycles. Now, the operational GFS, what we're looking at currently, still is trying to spin this up as it gets to Florida. But I want to show you something real quick about model consistency. I'll make it quick. I know I promised y'all a quick one tonight, but GFS model here, watch how much the GFS bounces around. All of the images you're about to see are valid for the same time, which is 18Z Thursday, which is just Thursday afternoon, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But it's multiple model run guesses. Now watch how much the GFS bounces the storm around. Now we're way back over here versus, where we just were. And then days before that, it's faster. Now, yesterday or the day before, it had it already into Florida. Now it's backed it up and moved it around. Look at how much that bounces around and how much the intensity changes, how the colors get dark, then they get light, then they get dark again, indicating that the intensity, placement, and speed of the storm that it's trying to forecast is all over the map. I want you to compare this to the latest runs of the European model. So the European model, same time, Thursday afternoon, showing that just mostly wave axis, no really closed low, maybe a tropical depression or a PTC or something, but no, nothing organized. And then if I go back several runs in the Euro, kind of shows the same thing. The timing adjusts a little bit, but other than a run or two where it looks a little stronger, I mean, besides trending a bit weaker, the Euro has been very consistent. So when we're talking about looking at these models, we want to look at the consistency, and the European model has been far more consistent, and the European model has been the one that has shown this mostly staying as an open wave or maybe becoming a weak depression or storm before it makes landfall in Florida sometime Thursday afternoon or early on Friday. So what does this mean? If this just stays as an open wave, well, then all Florida is really going to see is a little bit more rainfall and some gusty winds. That's really all this is going to be. And these silent tropical waves that never get named are actually not that common, or uncommon rather, in the area, especially this time of year. They don't get a lot of publicity. This one kind of did. It got a lot of model buzz and people started talking about it, and now it's kind of fell off. But having a tropical wave ride in a strong surge of winds like this, not unusual. But this is going to move in, and this will basically just bring your rain chances up a little bit. Right now, you guys are very dry. We talked about that yesterday's video, and the mid and upper levels of your atmosphere are dry, and this will help turn that around a little bit. Again, I don't want to get y'all too excited. Rainfall totals still don't look great. We're talking about Sunday afternoon here, total QPF from the European model, half inch, maybe an inch near the coast. The coast will see more rain in this case, and as those showers move on shore, they'll begin to dry out. WPC trying to be a little more generous, maybe an inch or two, maybe an inch and a half if we're being, kind of charitable. But again, not a ton of rain, but you will see a better chance for it towards this weekend. Until then, it'll keep your temperatures down. It'll keep the winds very gusty, outright windy at times, especially on Thursday, Friday as this moves through. But again, not a giant rainmaker. And for now, still does not appear to be anything really serious or really organized. Again, could it become a tropical depression or storm? It still could, but it's not like this is going to be some world-ending kind of hurricane by any stretch. It's going to be a weak system that likely moves in and out without much fanfare at all. So that's the latest on that. We're going to keep tracking it, but that's what we got for you right now. Finally, the National Hurricane Center is highlighting the Gulf of Mexico again next week. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but 20% chance of formation down the line going into the weekend and beyond. GFS model kind of shows it here. This is this weekend. So to back it up, if we go back to our Gulf of Mexico storm today, this all moves into Mexico, We already talked about that. But then if you look at the background pattern, still a lot of moisture inflowing from the Pacific, strong winds from the Caribbean, and you still have a general background low So sitting down here in what we call that Central American gyre pattern doesn't quite go away, because if you look at the overall pattern, well, we still have a big high over the southeast U.S. We have a low down here, so nothing really changes. So the weather pattern can repeat. We could have another PTC One type system brewing up this weekend or going into early next week. So we are going to have to watch this whole thing again. And if this takes enough time, early next week, the weather pattern does begin to change as a trough does eventually make it down to the southeast. This could start opening the gate for something a little more to the north and to basically the northeast, perhaps. So folks a little bit further to the north, Texas, Louisiana, maybe even the central Gulf Coast, may have to keep an eye on it. But it also could just bury itself back in Mexico and once again not be a problem. So we're going to keep watching that. But again, bottom line tonight, PTC One moves into Mexico sometime late tomorrow night or early Thursday. Tropical storm conditions for much of Texas, heavy rainfall for Texas, some coastal flooding, all in the mix for them, and generally unsettled weather in this whole region as that whole moisture kind of axis moves through. For Florida, you know, your little system moving in ain't going to be a whole lot, and then we are going to watch this area again next week. So that's what I got for you guys tonight. As always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.